What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be talking about perfectionism. And perfectionism is something that kind of has it's something that has mixed reviews. It's something that is kind of seen as a good thing, and also people are aware it's a bad thing. It's a good thing in the sense of people are just like, perfectionism is when you have very very high standards for yourself, and very rigid standards, and the kind of impact it has is like, okay, this person is doing things at a very like high quality degree, making sure they do things properly, and the effort is always there. So you can see things, from a performance standpoint. It's like, oh yeah, it's better to be perfectionistic because you do things good. But the problem is it has, let's say, a cutoff point where it's like unhealthy. So perfectionism, because it's so rigid, it doesn't fit you with reality, because the problem is not every day is going to be like a star day, right? And the problem is, if you are perfectionistic, that rigid high standard is actually going to be more detrimental, because on the days, because you're going to have up and down days, and on those days you're going to make more of a negative impression than is necessary. You're going to feel like a failure, you're going to feel negative about these off days, and that means for any other day you're let's say less confident, and this can lead into things like procrastination, avoidance, and all things like that. And I think I'm gonna do a video on the three different types of procrastination, but one of them is based on perfectionism, and it is based on this pattern of not meeting rigid expectations at some point and then paying for it in the future. So this is where I think perfectionism does fall apart. It's because, yeah, reality is that progress is messy, progress is gradual, and progress can be two steps back and then three steps forward. And that's just the natural progression of things. And the most effective way to progress and to do well for yourself is to be flexible, is to be kind of like, still setting high standards for yourself, but not having them to be rigid, because then that's when it turns into perfectionism. And there's a very clear distinction in like literature with high achieving versus perfectionistic. High achievers don't fall into the negative pitfall because they're flexible. When there is a bad day, they give themselves compassion. Then that is juice and energy that propels them, firstly, to recover, get into a better state. Then they can turn a bad day into a good day, or at least they prepare themselves for better days. Whereas the like I mentioned before, that cycle of perfectionism kind of just, it's always lose lose, because either you meet those standards or you don't, which at some point you won't, and then it's negative. And if you meet those standards, it's also it's also kind of a lose situation, because then that standard doesn't even mean anything. It's kind of like, oh, okay, I did this. I was expecting to do this. It's not, there is no good. So then there's no kind of feeling of progression. It's always, you're falling. Yeah, you're pretty much just always falling. So, whilst when people, say I'm perfectionistic, and while sometimes it can seem a little bit of a popular or positively viewed thing, like, oh, this person is just, it does have, when I hear that, I'm aware that it indicates, oh, like this person probably could feel better and probably perform better if they weren't as rigid over their standards. So yeah, that's the limitations of perfectionism.